guys, this is Aaron Jordan, Mr. Know Your Worth himself. I'm a relationship coach, I'm an author, I'm a motivator. We're going to talk to real people that overcame real issues right here on Cafe Conversations. Hey guys, how you doing? You tune in to Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth. And we have the pleasure of having on the show to have a conversation with us, Miss Stacia Freeman. How you doing today, Stacia? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
I'm so excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be
you can see
here.
like I got chills right. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So usually how I like to start off the show is just for our viewers and our audience, just so they can get an idea of who we have on the show. I always like to have the guests to just give a little bit of background about who they are, the mission, and how they got to where they are now. Because a lot of times people, they see the right now, but they don't know the back end story. So give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Well, I think everything I've done kind of is trial and error, you know?
Oh, wow.
I mean, life is kind of like that, right?
I can attest to that.
We start doing something that we think like that's our route to go, and I think like I tell the kids I work with all the time that I was chasing after the dream, you know, like thinking that what the world says about being successful, like getting a degree and making money, and I was traveling. I was in medical research. I did that for about 10 years, working for a company out of San Francisco, and
California.
I loved it. Traveled about 75% of my job was travel. Got to go to all of the great research institutions, and then you know my family was growing, and it just became increasingly difficult to work like that, be gone all the time, and leave my children at home with my husband, who was also busy in his own career.
Working as well.
Yeah. And so I stopped to stay home to raise babies, and I always say I was a little bit bored out of my mind. I just always feel like I was meant, not that like raising children is so important, and not that like I'm trying to take away from women that do that, like my hat's off to them, but I just always felt like I was supposed to be working. Wow. And so I found out about nonprofit and specifically anti-trafficking.
Wow.
And I thought, how can I be even in this world? And someone that was raised in the church and never heard of that.
Wow.
And just wanted to volunteer my time to help an agency that I'd heard of. And one thing led to another. And now I've been in nonprofit for almost 16 years. It'll be 16 years in July. I know. That's amazing. And it happened by accident. Like I remember the first agency that asked me, the anti-trafficking agency I was working with, that asked me to run that portion, you know, their program. I remember after I got the phone call sitting in my car thinking, what in the world? Like they must be so desperate if they're asking me, because I know nothing about nonprofit management or about this issue or anything. So I did that. I worked with that anti-trafficking organization for 10 years. And then my heart was just really turned towards prevention. And so that's like the Cliff Note version of how I got from one point to the other. I learned a lot about success had nothing to do with chasing after status. It had everything to do with
the status quo or anything like that.
It's all about serving other people.
Wow. And so in you working in nonprofit, they're like that's attached to and aligned with your purpose and your mission. So what about the work that you do in nonprofit? What drives you?
People.
Wow.
Yeah, I think like what I've learned is that at the core of who we are, no matter what our experience is, what our situation is, we all desire to be connected to something that matters. It doesn't matter even if you're like, I'm never going to connect to people, I'm going to sit in my room by myself. We thrive off of the energy,
the interaction,
and the connections to other people. So I was always a people person. Like I always got in trouble in school for talking and, you know, being social, you too.
Yeah.
And now when I'm teaching girls, I told a girl in class today, she was talking over me, and I told her, I said, you have the gift of gab. Yeah. That's going to save your life someday if I don't strangle you first. And that's like, you know, she laughed, but I mean, that was my story. Like I was always in trouble for talking. I couldn't see that as a blessing. It always kind of almost felt like a curse. Oh, wow. But it is true that your purpose is oftentimes tied to the things that cause you trouble to start with.
And I was one of those kids in school too that quote unquote had the gift of gab, but the gift of gab or the gift of talking would actually get me in trouble.
Yes, me
too as
too.
well. So I will talk when I wasn't supposed to. I really try to talk myself out of situations. But that leads me going into this next question. You know, they consider me the relationship guy. So when you was talking, it really made me think about my purpose, my mission, and how you know, we don't know where the path of life is going to take us. So
Right.
you know, it was my situation. All of my relationships, I think we talked about this once before. All of my relationships ended the exact same way before I got married. Hey wife, how you doing, Ashley? But before I got married, all of my relationships ended the exact same way. I use this analogy with my story. It's called 3 Rings, 3 Engagements. And that was done all in an 18-month period. So you can tell like where the psyche and my mindset was in that. So in the work that you do, as far as in the community and things like that, how do you with some of the people or kids? 'Cause I think with the organization that you started, predominantly deals with children.
Right.
So how do dealing with their mindset and certain aspects, how do you transcend over that?
Consistency. I mean, I think a lot of times we don't recognize that the secret formula to any relationship is showing up consistently, like over and over and over again. And for the kids that I serve, I work with teenage girls, and they've had a lot of people come in and out of their life. A lot of people that haven't been good stewards of the relationship, whether that's family members or workers or mentors or whatever. I mean, and so I think consistency is oftentimes we don't look at that and realize how important it is.
Wow. I just had to take a pause right there for a minute, because I think about you think about some of these kids that are in these areas and they don't have the access to resources and things like that. You kind of think about like, okay, where are they going at night too as well? I know sometimes they may possibly keep you up at night too as well. With thinking about some of your girls, with your nonprofit Epic Girl.
Yes.
Yeah. So what programs do you guys have going on now that actually, or resources to help these kids?
Yeah. Well, so Epic Girl is an empowerment program. And we are based around relationship. We believe that relationship changes everything.
It does.
And it's an educational program that meets over the course of 7 weeks. We cover things like, well, one of the classes is called Identity. It's talking to girls about who are you really, helping girls identify, are they living in a place of strength? Are they living in a place of challenge or weakness? A lot of times we allow our circumstances, our experiences to define us, teaching them if that is where they are right now, that doesn't have to be where they stay. They can move beyond that. And then we talk about healthy relationships. If you've never experienced healthy relationships, a lot of times it's like, where do you start?
And how does that look too as well?
Right, exactly. It's, you know, especially if like you're a kid and the adults in your life aren't healthy. And how do you demand healthy relationship if you've never experienced it? I mean, I had a kid one time wait for me after class, and she goes, this is really amazing. Like, what we're learning is really amazing. And I would love to do that, but the reality is I have nobody in my life to even practice with. She didn't even know how to start. So, but I say like really one of the hardest things we do is teach people that don't love themselves to love themselves.
That is
I don't
one
know
of the hardest things.
Yeah, and I don't know if that, like when you talk about 3 rings and 3 engagements, if that was part of your story.
Yeah, that's every bit of my story. Because the thing is, I was going through a deep depression moment. I was in a very dark place. And so when you think about it, when you're in a dark place and you don't know how to deal with your emotions, you haven't had anyone in your life to actually teach you, or you haven't had mentors or people that you can go and talk to, what do? You react, you act out. And so my acting out was needing the validation of love. And so what people don't understand, that love is a very powerful thing. And so going through that process of me needing love, needing the validation of it, and I didn't get it, it wasn't reciprocated back to me. It took me to a point where, okay, well, I started questioning, like, okay, well, something must be wrong with them, not me. So it put me in a mindset of like, what is really wrong with me? You know, because now here it is, I'm on 3rd engagement. so what, a little over a year, 2 years. So it really had me to like really take a hard look at myself in that aspect. And then oftentimes you don't really have men that actually talk about those things, because one thing we're not taught to put our emotions out there, put our emotions on the shoulders. So then that brings the question. So with some of the girls that you have that's in your group or in your organization, the emotional psyche, how do you deal with that? So I know that can be a lot within itself, with everything they have going on. How do you deal with the emotions? 'Cause I know you get pulled in so many different directions.
You know, I really have to be honest. I mean, I've struggled with my own desire for affirmation like through my whole life, and so then in working in this space, when you get into situations with people that are very broken, and there is the tendency to want to meet that need if you're a fixer, know, and to constantly hold yourself accountable for not being a fixer. And that, I think, has been a journey for me, because we are dealing with some kids that have had a lot of disappointment and a lot of attachment types issues and not healthy attachments, and I think I've learned to let myself off the hook and to recognize, like literally, like right before I came here, I was talking to my friend that works with me, and we were talking about a kid that we've been working with, and that we've had to put some pretty strict boundaries and rules in place for her. And I said, I'm to the point now where I realize, like, the seeds that we have planted are good seeds. And now it's up to her with what she wants to do with them.
Now it's up to her to water those
seeds. Because, I mean, it's like I can plant, somebody can nurture, but we know that we're not the ones to do the increase.
Exactly. We're not the ones to actually sit there and grow those seeds for you.
And that's the hardest part for me, because I am a deal closer.
Oh my God.
And I'm constantly like fighting against that whole idea of being a fixer, of being a box checker, and not, always being focused on that, but being focused for that moment. What can I bring to that person, or what can our agency bring to that person?
Well, I have chills. Guys, I told you it's going to be an awesome conversation. Guys, you'll be right back on Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth.
I've been fortunate to live in Middle Tennessee all my life. I love the culture, the people, and the Southern traditions. People often ask, why are you so passionate about what you do? It's simple. I love people. I've been privileged to serve the Middle Tennessee area as an award-winning, top-producing realtor since 2011. My name is Gabrielle Garner, and I'm here to lead you home. Call today for your complimentary consultation.
Today's show was brought to you by Tennessee Minority Pages, your one-stop shop for minority businesses. Hey guys, welcome back to Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth. Guys, I told you we have an awesome conversation going with Miss Stacia Freeman, and she's still here with us today. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
High five again. We high five it up. But no, back to a serious one, because before we went to a commercial, you actually was touching on, I thought it was getting very deep. I had chills for a moment. But you was going into more detail about the emotional psyche and how you dealt with, how do you deal with that, with all the trauma of some of your kids and things like that. Let's continue to talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you have to have really good ways to take breaks. So I always say, like, this is heart work that we do, and heart work is the hardest work. And when you're doing heart work, you have to give yourself grace for that. You are going to get really tired, and you are going to get frustrated, and things aren't going to happen the way that you saw it happening. And there is pain and disappointment in that when you're working with broken people a lot of times. I am a runner. At least I was before I hurt my knee. And so I used to run like 25 or 30 miles a week. Now I'm lucky if I can run like, yes.
You said 20 or 30 miles a week?
Yeah.
Let me try to get maybe 10% of that in a week.
So I do a lot of that. I also, I'm a reader. I've learned, like, I took a Transforming Community class. Shout out to the Transforming Center in Chicago. And I learned a lot about solitude and being able to take quiet time and learning how to be alone with myself, which was really hard for me as an extrovert, to learn how to, like, appreciate just my own company. But it's true that if you're a person of faith and you're in this work, you can't hear the voice of God if you're never still enough to listen.
Come on now.
So that really has been like my goal for 2019 and going into 2020 is learning how to take that time, to take those retreat times, those respites, to give myself just time to catch my breath.
Wow. And you touched on something there, is sitting in that moment, giving us that time to listen to that voice, the voice of our Creator, the voice of God. So let me ask you this: how has because I know the work that you do is very trying. So how has your faith played a big part in that, in getting you through? Because you're mentoring, pretty much. And so how's your faith played a big part in that?
Well, I don't know how I would do this without faith. Wow. Like, I don't know how people work in this field at all. I mean, I could spend like more time than we have today talking about how broken our system is. I think, like, as a white girl, I was living in my bubble, and I didn't recognize like the racial inequity that a lot of the kids that I serve are dealing with, the biases that are in our system. I didn't know the brokenness of the juvenile system, and that in itself just gave me a lot of guilt that I had lived life for so long just blissfully unaware, like not even knowing what I didn't know. And opening up to that was almost like took my breath away. Wow.
So it was like maybe like a aha moment.
Really, yes. Wow. And I feel like I always have those still, that I'm constantly struggling through that. But I don't know, I lost my train of thought. Like, what were you exactly asking me? Like, how to...
I love it.
Yes.
So just really touching on, like, your faith.
Yeah.
Your faith, how... Because I love it. You really took me there for a moment. But I know that in the work that you do, in the work that we do, and putting ourselves constantly out there, being a vessel for people, we tend to doubt ourselves. We tend to doubt our abilities. We tend to doubt the worthiness of ourselves. So in that moment, have you ever had any doubtful moments, like, okay, is this the work that I'm really supposed to do?
Every day, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. But also, I think, like, I would be remiss not to mention that the agency I worked with before was founded as a ministry. We were, specifically a ministry, and I became very jaded in that. Wow. How the church just wasn't really showing up. Like, it felt like every church wanted to start their own thing. They didn't want to pour into other agencies that were doing things. People had an agenda. Wow. And so when I started Epic Girl, I purposely started it not as a mission, not as a ministry, but as a mission that did not have an agenda, that understood that people are just on a journey, and everyone's going to get to their place at a different time, and that we have to be patient for that, and really trusting God in the process of that.
It's like a prodigal son moment, where I know for me it was like a prodigal son moment, because I kept running. I had my running shoes on, and I was running from what the calling was, and that was to be a vessel and to be a incubator of inspiring people. So when you're constantly putting yourself out there, because I have those doubtful moments too as well, and so all the time, all the time, because we being in this space, we get pulled in so many different directions of like, we need to be here. We kind of tend to put ourselves on the back burner, and put ourselves in the position or in the place of others, And so let me ask this question here. So with some of the kids that's in your organization, how are their spirits? Because I know we talk about being broken. How are their spirits when they come and they go through your program, and opposed to like when they're out of your program?
That's interesting. They come, a lot of them, well, about 90% of our referrals come from the court system. Wow. And so they come feeling like they have to be there. They don't want to do that. They kind of come with their arms crossed and a sour look on their face. And then usually by the time it ends, if they make it through the entire program, the relationship has taken root. Wow. And so there's a connection there. Yeah. So it may be that there were just tiny little bits of knowledge that seeped in but then what they really grasp onto is the relationship. And I've had girls come back. Like I recently had a girl that she's 21 and she'd gotten in trouble and they said you have to do service, like you have to do service hours. So she called me and said, can I do my service hours? Of course. She comes and she says, she's teaching the class with me, and she says to the group of about 7 or 8 girls between the ages of 14 and 17, she says, I know right now you're sitting here and you're like, oh, whatever, like none of this, matters.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, in 2 or 3 years, you're going to look back and think, wow, like you're going to remember. And she said, and I'm so grateful to sit here now and listen again. Like it's a good refresher to me that I'm worthy of good relationships, that I'm worthy of good people, that I deserve good things, and that I'm responsible,
So the thing is that when you think about it, it's like when we were talking earlier in the show, talking about planting seeds. So those seeds that you're planting in those girls' lives will be there forever.
Right.
Be there forever. I mean, it's one of those moments where even where they're feeling doubtful, they're going to come back and think about Stacia Freeman, an epic girl. They're going to think about the things that you imparted into them. It's like in the work we do, it's like we're being vessels. And I love using that word, being vessels to inspire people, touch the lives of people.
Right.
Too as well. So one thing too as well, I know we talked about some of the program that you have too as well. Is there any opportunities for like some of the girls that go through your program to come back and actually work with the organization?
Yes. So we really encourage the girls to come back and be a peer mentor.
Wow.
So they can actually be part of the mentoring program and mentor girls that are younger than them. They have to be over 18.
Okay.
And they have to be in a place where we can trust them to make good choices. And they have to agree to work with adults.
Wow.
And then they have to be over the age of 21 before they can mentor on their own without supervision.
Without supervision.
Yes. So there's a lot of opportunity. We also say, like, your pain is never lost if you use it for something good.
Wow.
So a lot of the girls, it's like none of the stuff that happened to you has to be lost on you.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Yeah.
It's the things that I went through. I couldn't see it in the moment, but later on I could see that if I hadn't gone through those things, I wouldn't have the platform or the purpose or the passion for doing what I do. And it's also like we have to remember that the whole purpose of this journey is for the sake of others.
Exactly.
It's never about us.
It's never about us. Your story is not meant
Yep.
for you.
Exactly.
It's meant for the inspiration, impact, and the empowerment of others.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, so tell people where they actually can find information about Epic Girl. How can they get involved and things of that nature?
So you can check us out on our website, which is epicgirl.net. Or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. It's at Hey Epic Girl, and we keep kind of updated on things going on, so that you can get involved if you like to run. We do a race in the spring. If you want to,
I'm gonna have to start working out now for that.
Yes, and then we also ask women to come and mentor with us. They have to go through mentor training, and we're trying something new with an agency called Think Native. Which is helping us do like a matching system for matching mentors to our girls, because we want to make sure that they're going to be successful in that mentoring-mentee relationship. So we're trying something different, but you have to take 12 hours of training. So we train everybody on adverse childhood experiences, why do the girls that we serve maybe respond differently to relationship, and then how do you facilitate meaningful, lasting connection. So we have a real need for mentors. Obviously, we're a nonprofit, so we have needs for people that want to give us money and support what we're doing. Donate. You can do that on our website. And just tell people about Epic Girl, what we're doing. We're in Davidson County, Williamson County, and Robertson County, working with the court systems in all 3 of those counties, and hope someday that we can at least facilitate connections for girls specifically that are running away that might be at high risk for things like exploitation.
Wow. One last question I did have for you. So outside of it was a 5K? Outside of 5K, do you have any other activities that you have that you're looking to implement into the program? Because like I told you, I got to start running now.
Like, do you mean 5K? From an event perspective?
Yeah, from an event perspective too as well.
Well, so we're doing this really cool thing this year because we focus a lot on self-esteem, and so we're doing this really cool thing this year where we're doing photographs of the girls, and then they're writing like a small piece about how they're a work in progress. And then we're actually going to do an art show, and everybody, when they come to the art show, will be given a little stack of Post-it notes, and then they can write a positive affirmation for the girls and put it on their picture. Because we say that as people, we live up or down to what's said about us. So we want to give our girls plenty of good things to live up to. And then that'll be a way for people to pour into the girls that we serve, to pour into Epic Girl, and to get more involved in our mission. Yeah. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
You see, I got chills right now.
Yeah. We're still exploring like events and things like that, because, you know, this nonprofit can be so overwhelming with events. So we don't want to like beg people to death. We want people to like really be involved because they're passionate about our mission and what we're doing.
I told you guys. We had this is going to be an awesome conversation. Miss Stacia, I really appreciate you being on the show, spending your time and sharing your expertise, sharing your advice with us on Cafe Conversations. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
High five.
High five.
Well, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in to Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth.
What's up, guys? This is your boy Aaron Jordan, Mr. Know Your Worth himself, your relationship coach. I created a course called Revamp. It's an online workshop relationship course geared toward helping people to understand who they are, whose they are, and what they are when it comes to relationships, dating, personal development, or as an individual before you even think about getting back into a relationship. In this course, I tap on the fact of helping you to understand 5 key principles that you must learn, that you must articulate, or that you must exemplify before you get to the point of being able to love someone else. There's so much information that I could cover right now in this video, but guys, go to my website and get the course. It's aaronjordanjr.com/revamp. You do not want to miss this, guys. Understand and know that your worth is undeniable and your value is priceless.
I've been fortunate to live in Middle Tennessee all my life. I love the culture, the people, and the Southern traditions. People often ask, why are you so passionate about what you do? It's simple. I love people. I've been privileged to serve the Middle Tennessee area as an award-winning, top-producing realtor since 2011. My name is Gabrielle Garner, and I'm here to lead you home. Call today for your complimentary consultation.
Today's show was brought to you by Tennessee Minority Pages, your one-stop shop for minority businesses.